Hi, I'm Ken Rosenthal, park naturalist with Gulf Branch Nature Center, and I've got another 5-minute find for you. This one's a little different find because I found myself thinking this week. Usually, right after the big meal on Thanksgiving, I find myself thinking a lot about sleeping, and in particular, the winter sleep that many animals go through. Hibernation is a word that is used pretty regularly for any animals inactivity during the winter, but it's not really accurate for every animal group. And so what I wanted to do real quickly is give you a little primer, if you will, of what the different types of inactivity are called for different animals. Um, Dormancy is an inactive period in the life of an animal or plant during which growth normally slows or completely ceases. So this is what we're talking about. Now, for us, we have predictive dormancy versus consequential dormancy. For us here in our region, there's a lot of predictive dormancy. This is when animals know a time is coming when food or water or some other resource is not going to be very available. And so they have adaptations to recognize when conditions are going to change so they can prepare. In this case, it's the trigger is the decreasing photoperiod, the time between sunrise and sunset, and that triggers in a lot of plants and animals their adaptive processes. For some, obviously, it's migration, they leave, but we're going to be talking about the ones that stay and become inactive. There's also consequential dormancy, which I'll mention one briefly, but it's not as regular as in other places where the climate might be really subject to quick, rapid changes where you can suddenly lose a certain resource like water or food, and that becomes really important for animals to be able to go dormant suddenly and rapidly. So consequential dormancy is more of a reactive strategy, where predictive dormancy is more of a strategy of preparation. Hibernation is the word I think most people use when animals go dormant for the winter, but they use it, like I said, pretty regularly. Hibernation is very specific in that it's a decrease in body temperature for an animal that doesn't normally experience that significant of decrease. So that means hibernation is really a proper term for mammals. In a lesser extent, birds. There's a couple, and we're not going to get into birds today, but it's really talks about mammals that go through this, and it tends to be mammals that might live in higher elevations, certainly higher latitudes, where there is a significant period of winter where food resources or some other type of resource might become unavailable. The classic example here in our area is the woodchuck or groundhog, any of those other names at the bottom. Woodchucks dig a winter burrow that is 6 feet deep. And that gets their body underneath the freeze line because once they start hibernating, they're not moving around at all. So once they get that low, and once they get into hibernation, they can't move. So they want to make sure that they're below the freeze line, how deep the freeze goes into the soil, so that they don't freeze themselves, which would be fatal. Their body temperature can drop 40 or 50 degrees between 90, from like mid 90s to upper 40s. Their heart rate can slow from 100 beats per minute to 15, and they can lose 20 to 30% of their body weight over winter, which is pretty specific. The American black bear is also a hibernator. Slightly different. There used to be some arguments about whether it was a true hibernator or not, and it is because the metabolic processes slow down, even though they don't see as big a depression in the body temperature. It's only maybe a 6 to 10 degree change in body temperature. But they don't eat, drink, defecate, or urinate during this time. The heart rate slows from 40 beats per minute to 8, and they can still lose a quarter to a third of their body weight over the winter, which again is really significant. For reptiles and amphibians who are cold-blooded or ectothermic, whose body temperature changes regularly, and they can have a pretty significant body change at certain times of the year, where you might have the start of the day might be 50, degrees, and it goes up into the upper 70s or low 80s. You can have a 30-degree change in temperature outdoors, and a similar change happen within their bodies. But that's their body. That's something that they're used to. This is so having a sudden, not a sudden, but a gradual decrease in their body temperature over many days is not unusual for these animals, but it still slows down their metabolic processes. So instead of using the term hibernation, we use brumation, and that's for reptiles and amphibians. Estivation is one of those consequential dormancy situations I talked about. Their eastern redback salamanders are really easy to find in the spring and fall, but you don't find them much in the summer because they estivate. So they brumate, in the winter, and then they estivate in the summer. And diapause. Diapause is essentially a cessation of development the insects completely stop developing during the winter. And different insects will go through diapause at different times in their life cycle, maybe as an egg or a larva or a pupa or an adult or a nymph if they go through a different kind of metamorphosis. This is a queen bald-faced hornet that was inside a log that was not quite ready to emerge yet. This was late winter, early spring when I found this one. But that's how they go through the winter, as they cease their development. So thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, this will be posted obviously on our Facebook page. If you have any questions about any of these terms or hibernation, please feel free to post them in the comments and we'll be happy to answer them. My name's Ken. I hope you enjoyed finding something a little different this week on our 5-Minute Find, and we hope to see you at many future ones. Thanks and have a great day.